You ready?
Just put it on the kids.
Blooper reel.
You want to start this over here?
No, I'll just set it up. Alright. Well, hey everybody.
Hey, Doug.
Hello, Doug.
Hey, Doug.
Well, we are at the Harrison's mobile home. It's Wednesday, the 31st of January, 2018, and we're going to have some Bible study time. Pan around a little real quick, show everybody who's here. We're having a Bible study. Okay, there's everybody, and all around. Yeah.
You're going to get the gnome blown in about 5. Oh, wait, no. Wait, hold on. Just tail it up. You'll get the noni baloney. Oh, you got the top of it right.
Okay, and a couple little kids. And we thought maybe we would videotape it and include everybody and post it on YouTube so you can kind of see how this goes. This is not our regular Sunday night meeting, which tends to be more prayer and stuff and announcements and kind of staff meeting stuff, internal housekeeping things. But more of a Bible study, and we're going to be reading through the book of Micah as fast as we can within the time limits we have tonight. So we'll see how far we get. It's not very big. It's in the Minor Prophets. That's toward the back of the Old Testament. It's page 1327 in this Bible, which is thoroughly unhelpful to practically everybody, I'm sure. But if you go to Matthew and work your way back, you've got Zechariah, Zephaniah, Malachi, Nahum, and then Micah. Not exactly in that order. And even though I got a big print Bible, I've had a long day. We were up early this morning, and I'm going to wear my reading glasses anyway. And Micah, I have a video called Revival or Restoration already, but a lot of this group hasn't seen the video or hasn't gone through this. But we talk a lot about the righteous remnant in the end times, and Micah, as most of the minor prophets, is end-time prophecy, or at least has spirals that apply to end-time prophecy. When I talk about spirals, people talk about how history repeats itself, but it's not a circle. It's always getting bigger. So World War I, was the war to end all wars, and then World War II ends up way bigger, and World War III will certainly be bigger yet. And so we're going around the same mountain, but we keep going in bigger and bigger circles, or there's more of us to screw it up than last time, or however you want to think about it. So a lot of times when we read the Bible, we need to figure out what was the application to the Jews at the time, what was the application later in Israel's history, what's the application to the church, what's the application to the bride, how does it, because it's not just a word to that people at that moment. Oh my gosh. So let's start reading. This is a New King James. Micah. Close off the kid. Micah. Chapter 1. The word of the Lord that came to Micah of Moresheth in the days of Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah, which he saw concerning Samaria and Jerusalem. So that gives us a date. When those guys were all in place is when this came. Hear, all you peoples, listen, O earth, and all that is in it. Let the Lord God be a witness against you, the Lord from his holy temple. For behold, the Lord is coming out of his place. He will come down and tread on the high places of the earth. The mountains will melt under him, and the valleys will split like wax before the fire, like waters poured down a steep place. For this is for the transgression of Jacob, and for the sins of the house of Israel. What is the transgression of Jacob? Is it not Samaria? And what are the high places of Judah? Are they not Jerusalem? Therefore I will make Samaria a heap of ruins in the field, places for planting a vineyard. I will pour down her stones in the valley, and I will uncover her foundations. All her carved images shall be beaten to pieces, and all her pay as a harlot shall be burned with the fire. All her idols I will lay desolate, for she gathered it from the pay of a harlot, and they shall return to the pay of a harlot. Therefore I will wail and howl. I will go stripped and naked. This is a good time for a shot of the kid. You know, get down there. You may have to. Stripped and naked. I will make a wailing like the jackals and a mourning like the ostriches. I personally am unfamiliar with the mourning of ostriches, but I'm going to believe that that's the way it sounds. For her wounds are incurable, for it has come to Judah, it has come to the gate of my people, to Jerusalem. So this is about Samaria and all of her idolatry, and how Israel has taken part in all of that stuff. How they have participated with Samaria in all of her idolatry. Tell it not to Gath, weep not at all. In Beth Aphrah, roll yourself in the dust. Pass by it in naked shame, you inhabitants of Shaphir, inhabitants of Zanan. The inhabitant of Zanan does not go out. Beth Ezel mourns, its place to stand is taken away from you. For the inhabitant of Maroth pined for good, but disaster came down from the Lord to the gate of Jerusalem. O inhabitant of Lachish, harness the chariot to the swift steeds. She was the beginning of sin to the daughter of Zion. For the transgressions of Israel were found in you. Therefore you shall give presents to Moresheth Gath. The houses of Achzib shall be a lie to the kings of Israel. I will yet bring an heir to you, O inhabitant of Moreshah. The glory of the Lord shall come to Adullam. Make yourself bald and cut off your hair because of your precious children. Enlarge your baldness like an eagle, for they shall go from you into captivity. These are all woes. These are all ways of expressing their grieving. Woe to those who devise iniquity and work out evil on their beds. At morning light they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. They covet fields and take them by violence, also houses and seize them. So they oppress a man and his house, a man and his inheritance. Therefore thus says the Lord, behold, against this family I am devising disaster, from which you cannot remove your necks, nor shall you walk haughtily, for this is an evil time. In that day one shall take up a proverb against you, and lament with a bitter lamentation, saying, we are utterly destroyed. He has changed the heritage of my people, how he has removed it from me. To a turncoat he has divided our fields. Therefore you will have no one to determine boundaries by lot in the assembly of the Lord. There's no leaders, no judges, no wise men. Do not prattle, you say to those who prophesy. So they shall not prophesy to you. They shall not return insult for insult. You who are named the house of Jacob, is the Spirit of the Lord restricted? Are these his doings? Do not his words do good to him who walks uprightly? Lately my people have risen up as an enemy. You pulled off the robe with the garment from those who trust you as they pass by, like men returned from war. The women of my people you cast out from their pleasant houses, from their children. You have taken away my glory. Arise and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is defiled, it shall destroy, yes, with utter destruction. If a man should walk in a false spirit and speak a lie, saying, I will prophesy to you of wine and drink, even he would be the prattler of this people. Yeah, so they're saying, if a prophet would rise up and say, let me prophesy to you about getting drunk, and how good it is, and why we should do it, and whatever, he would be elected. He would be the prophet of this people. They would pick him.
Wow. And that literally does happen.
And that literally is the state of the church. So this is when it's talking about the house of Jacob, we have to look at the church and see how is this affecting the church. How is this a message to the church for having gone their own way, for having chased other things, whatever. And even if we can't figure out what we did, we can look and see if these things are what the church looks like or what the consequences are. Are these things happening as a consequence? And then backtrack and go, okay, what is it we did for which these are a consequence? And one of these things, it says, if a prophet comes and prophesies to you about being drunk, he would be the prophet to this people. You would pick him. I will surely assemble all of you, O Jacob. I will surely gather the remnant of Israel. I will put to... Okay, so this first part up to here is kind of about what God's going to do to the false shepherds and the false prophets and why they got themselves into this mess. Because of idolatry, because of chasing the gods of Samaria, and that they're going to cry woe, and it's all bad, okay? And he kind of says what he's going to do to them. So as we go through this book of Micah, it alternates back and forth between the false shepherds, what they've done and what he's going to do to them, and then the flock of his inheritance, the righteous remnant, and what he's going to do with them. Okay? So there clearly is kind of like a fork in the road, and you get to say, okay, I want to be part of this one or I want to be part of that one. So verse 12, chapter 2, I will surely assemble all of you, O Jacob. I will surely gather the remnant of Israel. I will put them together like sheep of the fold, like a flock in the midst of their pasture. They shall make a loud noise because of so many people. The one who breaks open will come up before them. They will break out, pass through the gate, and go out by it. Their king will pass before them with the Lord at their head.
I can't wait till we get to the part about make more room for us. It's just too narrow.
Right. Somebody read me verse 13 in the King James.
The breaker has come up before them. They have broken up and have passed through the gate and are gone out by it. And their king shall pass before them, and the Lord on them heed of them.
Right. Okay, so this is the first reference in verse 12 to them as sheep. But it's going to be a common theme through Micah, talking about them as sheep. And then what do you think this breaker that breaks open is? Well, it seems to open the door for the good guys. It seems to get things out of the way so that the flock that is the good guys can get in. So I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily as a thief.
Well, this says this has the word underlined and has like another word that you can kind of fill in for it, and it says destroyer. So the destroyers come up before them.
Right.
And they are broken up and have passed through the gate.
And it says they will break out, pass through the gate, and go out by it. So it looks like they are enclosed somewhere in the midst of the pasture. It says they're the sheep of the fold, like a flock in the midst of the pasture. And then the one who breaks open will come up before them. They will break out, pass through the gate, and go out by it. Their king will pass before them with the Lord at their head. So you can assume, I think, that the king that passes before them is the Lord that is at their head, and not that that's necessarily two people, but if we're talking about the righteous remnant, like the 144,000, then the king would be Jesus and the Lord would be God at their head. And I said, hear now, O heads of Jacob, and you rulers of the house of Israel, is it not for you to know justice, you who hate good and love evil, who strip the skin from my people and the flesh from their bones, who also eat the flesh of my people, flay their skin from them, break their bones, chop them into pieces like meat for the pot, like flesh in the cauldron. Then they will cry to the Lord, but he will not hear them. He will even hide his face from them at that time, because they have been evil in their deeds. Now, I don't think the rulers of the house of Jacob were cannibals. But we see here, and we see it in Jeremiah a lot of times, either the shepherd or the strong of the flock bullying the others, taking their food, killing them for their own use or something. So it is clearly something is wrong when the shepherds are just eating the sheep. That is their job, to keep them alive, not just to use them for themselves. Verse 4, then they will cry to the Lord, but he will not hear them. He will even hide his face from them at that time, because they have been evil in their deeds. Thus says the Lord, concerning the prophets who make my people stray, who chant peace, peace, while they chew with their teeth, but who prepare war against him who puts nothing into their mouths. Therefore you shall have night without vision, and you shall have darkness without divination. The sun shall go down on the prophets, and the day shall be dark for them. For the seers shall be ashamed, and the diviners abashed. Indeed, they shall all cover their lips, for there is no answer from God.
I was going to say that it really sounds like the description of pigs. Like spiritually, like, when they're full, they're quiet. But when they're hungry, they're chomping at the bit. And they're like, we need to do something about this. Let's break out of the fence. Let's go eat something. Let's kill something.
Sure. It also sounds like in the book of Revelation where it talks about there'll be a darkness on the land and all the wicked won't be able to see anything. Lots of applications here. As well as spiritual darkness and spiritual blindness, and the sun going down, the light going down for the prophets, and them not seeing the light anymore. But truly, I am full of power by the Spirit of the Lord, and of justice and might, to declare to Jacob his transgression, and to Israel his sin. Now hear this, you heads of the house of Jacob, and rulers of the house of Israel, who abhor justice and pervert all equity, who build up Zion with bloodshed and Jerusalem with iniquity. Her heads judge for a bribe, her priests teach for pay, and her prophets divine for money.
Fiona.
Yea, they lean on the Lord and say, is not the Lord among us? No harm can come upon us. Therefore, because of you, Zion shall be plowed like a field, Jerusalem shall become heaps of ruins, and the mountain of the temple like the bare hill of the forest. So this is a prophecy of the destruction of Jerusalem. Now it shall come to pass in the latter days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established on the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow to it. Which could be a prophecy about the third temple, or a prophecy about the second temple, depending on how you look at it. Many nations shall come and say, come and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob. He will teach us his ways, and we shall walk in his paths. For out of Zion the law shall go forth, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. He shall judge between many peoples, and rebuke strong nations afar off. They shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. But everyone shall sit under his vine and under his fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid. For the house of the Lord of hosts has spoken, for all people walk each in the name of his God, but we will walk in the name of the Lord our God forever and ever. Amen.
So they're not going to be people back in the future aren't going to be trained in combat or like war.
If this is millennial reign prophecy,
Yeah.
that the swords, they will not lift up sword nation against nation, and their spears will become plowshares and pruning hooks. that doesn't mean we don't have tractors. I kind of like tractors. But it means that it'll be more focused on just feeding people and than on war.
I wonder if there's going to be cars then in the millennium.
You know, that's a good question. Are there cars in the millennial reign? Well, they're here, and they're usable, and there's going to be lots of them left over, and there'll be roads, and there'll be whatever, and I don't see why not. Unless he has us theoporting from place to place, there's still going to be a need for transportation. And those are the things that, you know, how do you juggle Jesus among us? How much does life go on like normal, and how much are things restored to a kind of Garden Eden kind of scenario? I don't know. But everybody will sit under their own fig tree and say, in that day, says the Lord, I will assemble the lame, I will gather the outcast, and those whom I have afflicted. I will make the lame a remnant, the outcast a strong nation. So the Lord will reign over them in Mount Zion from now on, even forever. Who's he reigning over in Zion?
Us?
This afflicted, lame remnant of outcasts. And you, O tower of the flock, the stronghold of the daughter of Zion, to you shall it come, even the former dominion shall come, the kingdom of the daughter of Jerusalem. Okay, who's the daughter of Jerusalem?
Can I ask what? There's sometimes it says the daughter of Jerusalem, and sometimes it says Jerusalem, sometimes it says Zion.
The daughter of Zion, yeah. Yeah. Well, Mount Zion is where the Temple Mount is. That's the particular mount. Across from the Mount of Olives and Gethsemane and everything.
Is it by chance referring to the priestesses of Zion? The ones that were Bart was wanting about?
I think it's still talking about this righteous remnant that it talks about before. I think it's talking about the 144,000, not because when he talks about the bride or Zion in descriptive terms of a grown-up woman, I think he's referring to the bride, meaning the wholeness of the bride of Christ. When he talks about the daughter of Zion and other places where he describes her as small or young or whatever, I think he's talking about the righteous remnant, the mini bride, the first fruits of the full bride, that are these that he gathered from the nations that are afflicted, outcast, and walk with a limp. Of one sort or another. Now, why do you cry aloud? Is there no king in your midst? Has your counselor... What? Sorry. Okay, well, somebody... Let's read... Brady, why don't you read 9? It's just hot over here.
Now why do you cry aloud? Is there no king in your midst? Has your counselor perished? For pangs have seized you like a woman in labor. Be in pain and labor to bring forth, O daughter of Zion.
Okay, now what does that passage sound like? In Revelation of the birth pangs?
Yeah, the man-child, yeah.
The man-child and her, before she even knows, she's already given birth, you know. So here we have the daughter of Zion, like a woman in birth pangs, getting ready to go forth. Go ahead, read verse 10.
Okay. Be in pain and labor to bring forth, O daughter of Zion, like a woman in birth pangs. For now you shall go forth from the city. You shall dwell in the field, and to Babylon you shall go. There you shall be delivered. There the Lord will redeem you from the hand of your enemies.
Okay, what's Babylon in the context of Israel at the time?
That's a big, evil, scary nation.
Yeah, it's actual Babylon. It's the actual Persian punishment when they're taken out of their land. But we also see Babylon in Revelation 18 as sort of America or the West or capitalistic, whatever, or all the worldliness that the church gets turned over to and under a delusion. I don't know if we get a little bit of air. Maybe that fan.
Hey Daniel, can you open the door?
Just crack the door a little bit.
Daniel.
What?
Can you open the door?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, crack it open, yeah.
Kyle, could you open the door?
And so it says, there you shall be delivered, there the Lord shall redeem you from the hands of your enemies. Okay, so that righteous remnant, the woman with the birth pangs getting ready to have that man-child, is in Babylon. Okay? Now also many nations have gathered against you, who say, let her be defiled, and let our eye look upon Zion. But they do not know the thoughts of the Lord, nor do they understand his counsel. For he will gather them like sheaves to the threshing floor. Arise and thresh, O daughter of Zion, for I will make your horn iron, and I will make your hooves bronze. You shall beat in pieces many peoples. I will consecrate their gain to the Lord, and their substance to the Lord of the whole earth. Yeah.
I just wanted to say this really just occurred. In Revelation, the beast tries to make, or says it, he will make the harlot naked. And I'm sure he'd like to do the same to Zion. He would like to, and nakedness is like, the clothing is like righteous deeds. So nakedness is like, you're so paralyzed, you're either fearful or whatever, you're not doing anything righteous, you're not serving God. And the beast would love to do that to Zion, and to defile her and make her feel like, Jesus isn't there or whatever, but he's not going to do that with Zion. He's only going to do it with the harlot church that doesn't really want to do what Jesus says.
Right. Right. And, okay, and then here he says to the daughter of Zion how he's going to use her to thresh the nations. If you understand what threshing is, you gather the grain, which is the stalk, and it has the little thing on the end, and on those are the grain, which is what you want, but they're surrounded by a little cocoon thing, a little like the skin on a peanut of the chaff. And so you have to drag a wooden sledge with rocks on it, or sometimes use a round with nails, or just march a horse around with hooves, breaking that skin off, that chaff off the grain. Then you winnow it, and you take a rake and you throw it up in the air, and the chaff is real light and it floats away, and the good stuff, the grain falls back down. Then you sweep it all up, wash it off, and you can make bread with it, make pasta with it, whatever you're going to do with the grain. Texas toast. That's my choice. Anyway, so here he's talking about how the righteous remnant is the tool that's going to be used to thresh everybody else, and to see what kind of quality grain can be had from these other peoples. And then they're going to beat into pieces all these people, thresh them, and the Lord will consecrate the good stuff. What's left that's valuable and positive, the Lord will consecrate. And the rest of it belongs to the Lord, it says. Okay, can somebody other than James read chapter 5? Okay, Cindy's
Now got
real loud. Oh,
Go ahead.
yeah, then he don't have to turn on.
Well, James is like, I'll read.
Now gather thyself in troops, O daughter of troops. He hath laid siege against us. They shall smite the judge of Israel with a rod upon the cheek. But thou, Bethlehem Ephrathah, Though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me that is to be ruler in Israel, whose goings forth have been from of old, from everlasting. Therefore with
The old
Okay. Where does that passage sound familiar? Have you heard that passage before?
Yeah,
yes.
that's a big prophecy.
That is talking about where Jesus is going to come from. Out of you shall come forth to me the one to be ruler of Israel. So we hear that quote again in the Gospels when the wise men from the east go to Pilate, and Pilate asks his wise men, hey, where's the Messiah supposed to come from? And they all point to that verse and say, right there, it prophesies he comes from Bethlehem. So the wise men follow the star of Bethlehem, and so on and so forth. And they got a decoy so Jesus can get out of town. Anyway, so it's out of little Bethlehem that a ruler comes that will be the ruler in Israel and will be talked about for eternity. Go ahead with verse 3.
Therefore will he give them up until the time that she which travaileth hath brought forth. Then the remnant of his brethren shall return unto the children of Israel. And he shall stand and feed in the strength of the Lord, in the majesty of the name of the Lord his God, and they shall abide. For now shall he be great unto the ends of the earth. And this man shall be the peace, when the Assyrian shall come into our land, and when he shall tread in our palaces, then shall we raise against him 7 shepherds and 8 principal men. And they shall waste the land of Assyria with the sword, and the land of Nimrod in the entrances thereof. Thus shall he deliver us from the Assyrian, when he cometh into our land, and when he treadeth within our borders. And the remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of many people as a dew from the Lord, as the showers upon the grass that tarrieth not for a man, nor waiteth for the sons of men. And the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles in the midst of many people, as a lion among the beasts of the forest, as a young lion among the flocks of sheep, who if he go through, both treadeth down and teareth in pieces, and none can deliver. Thine hand shall be lifted upon thine adversaries, and all thine enemies shall be cut off. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord, that I will cut off thy horses out of the midst of thee, and I will destroy thy chariots. And I will cut off the cities of thy land, and throw down all thy strongholds. And I will cut off witchcrafts out of thine hand, and thou shalt have no more soothsayers. Thy graven images also will I cut off, and thy standing images out of the midst of thee, and thou shalt no more worship the work of thine hands. And I will pluck up thy groves out of the midst of thee, so will I destroy thy cities. And I will execute vengeance in anger and fury upon the heathen, such as they have not heard.
Okay, so, again, looks like end times, millennial reign type prophecy here. And he talks about, again, how this remnant, in verse 7, the remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of many peoples. So this little remnant is spread out all over the place. But he said in the beginning, he's going to gather them from all over, and they'll make the noise as of many men. They will be like the dew from the Lord, like showers on the grass, that tarry for no man, nor wait for the sons of men. Okay, so they're not afraid of man. They're doing their own thing. Don't look like the world. And they are like lions that cut off all their enemies. He will destroy the chariots, cut off the cities of your land, and throw down your strongholds. All the idolatry, your carved images, your sacred pillars, sorceries, all that stuff's going to be gone. And he will execute vengeance and anger on the nations that have not heard these things, that have not obeyed. We're almost to the end here, getting close. wants to read chapter 6 real quick?
I think Harris does.
Huh?
I think Harris does, Kyle.
Kyle does.
Kyle? Okay, you're going to have to spin around there, Marky. Read it loud, Kyle.
Hear you now what the Lord says. Arise, contend you before the mountains, and let the hills hear your voice. Hear you, O mountains, the Lord's controversy, and you strong foundations of the earth. For the Lord has a controversy with his people, and he will plead with Israel. O my people, what have I done to you, and wherein have I wearied you? Testify against me. For I brought you up out of the land of Egypt, and redeemed you out of the house of servants, and I sent before you Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. O my people, remember now what Balak, king of Moab, consulted, and what Balaam, the son of Beor, answered him from Shittim to Gilgal, that you may know the righteousness of the Lord. Wherewith shall I come before the Lord, and bow myself before the high God? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves of a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, or with 10,000 of rivers of oil? Shall I give him my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He has showed you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you but to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God? The Lord's voice cries to the city, and the man of wisdom shall see your name. Hear you the rod, and who has appointed it? Are there yet the treasures of wickedness in the house of the wicked, and the scant measure that is abominable? Shall I count them pure with the wicked balances, and with the bag of deceitful weights? For the rich men thereof are full of violence, and the inhabitants thereof have spoken lies, and their tongue is deceitful in their mouth. Therefore also I will make you sick, and smiting you, and making you desolate because of your sins. You shall eat, but not be satisfied, and your casting down shall be in the midst of you. You shall take hold, but shall not deliver, and that which you deliver will I give up to the sword. You shall sow, but you shall not reap. You shall tread the olives, but you shall not anoint you with oil, and sweet wine, but shall not drink wine. For the statutes of Omri are kept, and all the works of the house of Ahab. And you walk in their counsels, that I should make you a desolation, and the inhabitants thereof a hissing. Therefore you shall bear the approach of my people.
These are like the sound effects for the Bible.
In verse 8 there, I just was like, He has shown you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? To pray the sinner's prayer and to go to church on Sunday.
Yeah. Accept Jesus as your personal Savior.
And read
No, it says to do justly, to love mercy, and walk humbly before your God. Those are more rare than we want to believe in the world today. Okay. So we ended the beginning of chapter 7. The end of 6 there.
You really hit my start button.
Okay, somebody like to read chapter 7?
You want to read it with me now? Woe is me, for I am as when they have gathered the summer fruits, as the grapplings of the vintage. There is no cluster to eat. My soul desired the first ripe fruit. The good man is perished out of the earth, and there is none upright among men. They all lie in wait for blood. They hunt every man his brother with a net, that they may do evil with both hands earnestly. The prince asketh, and the judge asketh for a reward, and the great man, he uttereth his mischievous desire, so they wrap it up. The best of them is as a briar, the most upright is sharper than the thorn hedge. The day of thy watchman and thy visitation cometh. Now shall be their perplexity. Trust ye not in a friend, put ye not confidence in a guide. Keep the doors of thy mouth from her that lieth in thy bosom. For the son dishonoureth the father, the daughter riseth up against her mother, the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies are the men of his own house. Therefore I will look unto the Lord. I will wait for the God of my salvation. My God will hear me. Rejoice not against me, O mine enemy. When I fall, I shall arise. When I shall sit in darkness, the Lord shall be a light unto me. I will bear the indignation of the Lord, because I have sinned against him, until he plead my cause and execute judgment for me. He will bring me forth to the light, and I shall behold his righteousness. Then she that is my enemy shall see it, and shame shall cover her which said unto me, Where is the Lord thy God? Mine eyes shall behold her. Now shall she be trodden down as the mire of the streets. In the day that thy walls are to be built, in that day shall the decree be far removed. In that day also he shall come even to thee from Assyria, and from the fortified cities, and from the fortress even to the river, and from the sea, and from sea to sea, and from mountain to mountain. Notwithstanding, the land shall be desolate because of them that dwell therein, for the fruit of their doings. Feed thy people with thy rod, the flock of thine heritage, which dwell solitarily in the wood, in the midst of Carmel. Let them feed in Bashan and Gilead, as in the days of old, according to the days of thy coming out of the land of Egypt, will I show unto him marvelous things. The nations shall see and be confounded at all their might. They shall lay their hand upon their mouth, their ears shall be deaf. They shall lick the dust like a serpent. They shall move out of their holes like worms of the earth. They shall be afraid of the Lord our God, and shall fear because of thee. Who is a God like unto thee, that pardoneth iniquity, and passeth by the transgression of the remnant of his heritage? He retaineth not his anger forever, because he delighteth in mercy. He will turn again. He will have compassion on us. He will subdue our iniquities, and thou wilt cast their sins into the depths of the sea. Thou wilt perform truth to Jacob, and the mercy to Abraham, which thou hast sworn unto our fathers from the days of old.
Now, verse 16. Read that one, James, would you?
The nations shall see and be ashamed of all their might. They shall put their hand over their mouth. Their ears shall be deaf.
Okay. Who is it talking about that all their might that he's talking about there?
I mean, at a big spiral, maybe the big militaries of the world. You know, the governments. And
okay, but the nations shall see and be ashamed of all their might. Who is their might in this context?
The remnant, right?
Yeah, in verse 14 it talks about shepherd your people with your staff, the flock of your heritage or inheritance, who dwell alone in the woods in the midst of Carmel. That's a mountain. Let them feed in Bashan and Gilead as in days of old. So it's talking about this flock that's living in the woods and the mountains, which is not really good for a flock of sheep. They want to be out in the grazing land in Bashan. And but it says, as in the days when you came out of the land of Egypt, I will show them wonders. Who's the them? The them is the remnant. And what are the nations going to see? The nations are going to be scared to death, but their ears will be deaf, and they'll crawl like snakes. They shall be afraid of the Lord our God, and shall fear because of you. Okay, who will be afraid? The nations. Who's going to fear because of you? The nations are going to fear because of you. Who's you? The remnant. Who is a God like you, parting iniquity and passing over the transgression of the remnant of his heritage? So, even that 144,000, though they are surely stinkers, he is going to clean them up and overlook their transgressions and use them. It says he does not retain his anger forever, because he delights in mercy. So he's going to clean them out of wherever they've been in captivity, dust them off, shine them up, and send them out to the world, and it will shock the nations.
Well, so are we going to have like another time like Moses all over again?
Daddy, Mama?
Well, it says that he will do wonders as in days of old. And so, yeah, I suspect we're going to see Moses type miracles and wonders and all kinds of stuff.
Was this before
Put the
Hezekiah?
onesie on him. Put the onesie back on him.
Come here.
You got the onesie on. Here. Put the equipment back on.
Just about
Is this going to happen at the
This
same
way,
time?
okay.
because
Pulling it.
the thing
Leave it alone,
opens
buddy. No.
with him
Let mama.
giving this vision in the days of Hezekiah.
Let mama.
So they're about contemporary.
Hey.
Okay, what, Brian?
Is this going to happen before or during the tribulation?
I think this is during the tribulation that this righteous remnant rises up during the tribulation.
You're missing the action.
It's
Start throwing that diaper off. It's like, okay, fun time's over.
adorable.
Everything.
Hey,
That's going to be awesome.
let's get you dressed, buddy.
Any other questions?
Whoever wants to
They
open
look
us
fine.
first.
Okay, then
Is it?
the video I uploaded earlier today talking about cheating on a final exam, and all the people that I have seen over the years that hit the baptism of fire and then did something stupid, blew their lid off, poked holes in their cup, and started getting smaller cups. But and then also people that just weren't particularly Christians, were just determined to derail and dismantle anything that God was doing. Who is this righteous remnant? I think I don't believe that it's 12,000 Jews from every tribe that have never told a lie and never been with a woman. It doesn't say they're men, it just says they've never been with a woman. And I think it's more likely the people for whom Jezebel has no effect on them anymore, and they're walking clean with the Lord.
Bottle of fizzy.
A lot of folks around here have asked.
Right
Good job,
here.
Marky. Thank you.
Very good.
That's Marky, back from the UK.
Yay.
The thing timed out right there, so that's a good place to stop. Got us all the way through the book of Micah, and we're going to look at all the faces there. That's Sal,
Yep.
and James, and Cindy, and Alicia, and Fuzzy, and Little Fuzzy.
God bless you guys. Everybody that's watching, we love you. God bless you. Thanks for all your prayers and everything. You have no idea how much it's helping.
Are we going to get prayers?
Why don't we pray for them? You want to?
For who?
For all of them
All the
out there.
people watching.